Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Spark Virtual Campus, and welcome also to the 2020 Spark Xperience. Really glad to have you here, and I am really excited to talk about this topic tonight that we're going to cover. It's the transformational power of virtual experiences for us, both as customers, but more importantly, as humans. And I'm going to take you through that tonight and give you some insights. Who am I? My name is Tony Bodoh. I am one of the partners here at the Spark, but I also run a consulting company called Tony Bodoh International, and it's a customer experience consultancy. We've worked with everything from startups to Fortune 100 companies over the years. Just to give you a quick example here, I'm navigating the screen as well, so pardon me as I do this. Quick example here of the types of businesses I've worked with. And I've worked with everything. There are over 30 different industries, customer experience for companies that won the J.D. Power Awards, Fortune Best Companies, TripAdvisor Awards, Fortune Most Admired Companies. I've worked in the hospitality industry, and they've AAA 4-Diamond Awards. All of those have been part of the work I've done. I've also worked with the U.S. military through the USO and other organizations. I've worked with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I've written 3 best-selling books. So I've done a lot in this space. But the real value that I want to bring to you today is I want to talk about what we can do in a virtual world like we have here at the Spark, and how this can really affect what we're doing as human beings today in the midst of COVID, and what we're doing, as business owners and business leaders. So let me just reposition myself here so you can see. There we go. That's better. And my avatar here is on the ground, so I'm going to try to lower myself a little bit. I'm controlling the camera here myself just to give so you guys can get a good view of everything. There we go. So you can see everything I'm doing on camera here because I'm recording my screen to be able to see this, and the audience is behind us here. Now, I want to share with you, talk really about the transformational power of virtual experiences. We've seen some pretty amazing things happen here in this environment as we've been building, been testing, been developing for the last several months. And officially, the 2020 Spark Xperience is the kickoff of the campus, the grand opening of the campus. And so we're going to talk about that in some depth. But let me take you back a little bit and really think about what is customer experience at its core. And the way I think about customer experience is you can think about the management, the software, all those other things. When I think about customer experience, what I think about is the customer's experience. What did they think? What did they feel? What did they do? What would they call their life? That's what I think of when I think of customer experience. So as they've engaged with your company, with your brand, with your products and services, what was the experience they had? What would they look back and say, this is what I did with my life today? And because of that, I really think customer experiences are a subset of human experiences. And I think if we begin to think of them as a subset of human experiences rather than just something independent of human experience, we begin to recognize some very critical things. We can actually do much more with the human experience, or with customer experience as a subset of human experiences, because we can begin to understand the person better, not just treating them as a customer, as someone who, when they click this button and do that, and, all of the predictive analytics we may have out there. When we start to think about them as human beings and having human experiences, it can change how we engage in the world and how we engage with our customers, both virtual and real world. So the real question that I've been working with as part of the team here is, how do we create these admirable and profitable customer experiences for real humans in a virtual world? And that's a really critical thing. We want to distinguish that we are looking at real human beings here, not just avatars. Yes, we've got avatars. You can see my avatar right in front of you there. But how do we give the people that are represented by those avatars a real experience, or an experience that feels really admirable? They want to go out and talk about this and praise what we're doing here, praise the people that they met here, the work that was done, not for our sake, but because when someone admires what they've seen, it makes them a better person. It gives them the the fire to go out there and do something themselves in a better way. And that's really why we're striving for admirable experiences. I'm going to give a whole nother talk on that in the next couple days here. So we want to talk more about today really just understanding the real humans in a virtual world and why this matters. So in customer experience, I talk about four categories of ROI. There is revenue, and think of it as increasing the current purchases or paying a premium. If you're in the restaurant industry, it's like getting the people to buy dessert or buy an alcoholic beverage, a glass of wine as an example. So whatever you can do in the moment of purchase to increase the amount that they're spending. Then you've got the relationship. And the relationship really means that they buy more product lines, maybe more product families. They have a longer tenure. So that's the growth and the retention side of things that you typically find in like customer success organizations that they're focused on. The third ROI is reputation. And this is more recommendations coming to you, higher levels of referrals. It could be online reviews, anything where someone is leveraging their reputation to tell their family, friends, and followers how great you are and to go use your brand. And then finally, there's research. And research is really focused on this element of what can you learn? What insights can you gather? What are your customers willing to tell you because you have such an admirable relationship with them? They really appreciate what you're doing. They really want you to succeed, and they want you to be the problem solver for them. So that's the fourth of the ROIs. Now, for the last 20 years, ROI, for the most part, if you look in the customer experience world, has been focused on evoking positive emotions and creating memories. That's what we've been focused on. Look at Starbucks. Great company, great service, great products that they offer. But they're focused primarily on creating memories and positive emotions. And there's something more that's happening right now, and that's what I want to really dive into. That's been changing, and COVID has accelerated that change by, I would estimate, at least 5 years from the experiences that I'm evaluating and analyzing right now, and also from the people that I'm working with, the CEOs and other executives, listening to what's changing in their business, what their customers are valuing, what they have to be delivering now. I would say we've moved ahead in about 6 months by 5 years, and that's pretty massive change, and none of us were necessarily prepared for it. Now, if we look at it in the environment we're in today, COVID actually moved us much faster here. We were on the path, and I'll show you that path here in a few minutes. But the ROI in customer experiences really depend on guiding your customers through a series of experiences to help them achieve their aspirations and goals. Now, this definition comes from Pine and Gilmore. You'll understand more. I'll talk about them, who Pine and Gilmore are and why it matters. But ROI has shifted from just creating experiences that people feel good about, the positive emotion, and that they create memories about, and really shifted now, you have to help them achieve their aspirations and goals. So this example here, I'm going to actually zoom into this so you can see it a little better. So this example here is from, pardon me, whoops, we went a little too far here. This is live broadcast as I'm recording it, so not going back and changing it. Okay, so the last value shift happened in 2008 and 2009, and in that value shift, what we saw happen is people went from thinking about 5-star experiences as luxury, as expense, as high end. And it shifted where 5-star experiences really became something that a stranger or a friend or someone you know might tell you about. Hey, I had an amazing experience at this hotel or at this restaurant or at this location. And the value shift happened because essentially we went from a 5-star experience being defined by how much was spent for the most part, or how much was invested in the experience. And we see 3-star hotels, 3-star restaurants, even below that, 2.5 stars, suddenly being rated on places like TripAdvisor as 5-star or 4.5-star experiences. And I have an example over here that was in our book Profitability. And so these are from June of 2018, but they're still relevant today. It's just things have changed a little bit with COVID, so the numbers are not as accurate because people haven't been out there staying at hotels. But you can see in New York City, the number 3 ranked hotel out of 480 hotels, it had an expert rating of 3.5. You know, the experts that go out there and rate hotels. And yet the average guest rating out of 5 was 4.5. Los Angeles, the Magic Castle, number 2, ranked as a 3.5 hotel. Average guest ranking was 4.5. Hollywood Orchid Suites, number 4 out of 430. 2.5 expert rating, 4.5 for the average guest rating on TripAdvisor. So you can see the rest of the list here and you can look at that. Now here's the reality. In 2008 and 2009, TripAdvisor exploded. I was in the hospitality industry at the time. It was just taking off at that moment in time. But because of the success we saw with TripAdvisor.com, other sites really took off. So now you can look at Google and you've got reviews on Google. You've got reviews on Facebook. You've got TripAdvisor for travel. You've got Yelp for local businesses of all sort. Angie's List for contractors and other types of local businesses. Home Depot has reviews on their website for household products and services. Best Buy has electronics and appliances. Healthgrades has reviews of doctors and medical staff. Avo has reviews of lawyers and the legal profession. And G2 often reviews software and services and contracting. So the last value shift between 2008 and 2009, we moved away from rating people based on the service they provided, purely as an expense, as the time that they put in and the effort that they put in, their knowledge and expertise. And we moved more toward the experience, the feel good, and how they treated us. That happened primarily in 2008 and 2009. Just going to get repositioned here so you can see better. There we go. Now, the reason this happened, one of the main reasons, there are a lot of things that went into play here, but in 2007, June of 2007, the iPhone was released. And the iPhone very quickly meant we had internet accessibility everywhere, which you couldn't really navigate the internet easily without a smartphone like an iPhone with a full screen in that. You also ended up with unlimited or virtually unlimited data plans. You ended up with social review sites like TripAdvisor being accessible from a multitude of ways. One, I could access TripAdvisor as an example while I was driving to a hotel or through a neighborhood that had a bunch of hotels there, getting off a highway as an example. Or 2, I could leave a review while I was at the hotel or just after I left the hotel. So it became much more dynamic of an environment. But other sites are the same way. Very quickly, it can change the reputation online of an entire company because you have people now very quickly giving reviews, reading those reviews, and making purchase decisions based on those reviews in the moment. It also moved us to an experience economy from the service economy. Like at that point, 2007, 2008 was the tipping point. Before that, we were leading up with the experience economy. And I'm going to talk more about this to give you a perspective on this. But just remember that we were headed from the service economy into the experience economy. And at 2008, 2009, I think is the tipping point where we really went over the edge into the experience economy because people's value proposition changed when we had the Great Recession. And you also have millennials who were, they're going into the workforce between 2000 or maybe 97 and 2016. That's when they peaked. And right in the middle of that is 2008, 2009. So that's when they were half of them were into the workforce. And at that point, they start taking over the workforce. And so you see some pretty fundamental shifts in how business is done, both to serve them, but also because they were in business and taking leadership roles. Those who were early into, that came into the workforce 10 or 12 years before were now getting into leadership roles of some level. And so they began to really drive how business was being done. And so that's a big part of this as well. Now, if we look at what happened when the iPhone came in, it changed everything for us. It changed so many different things. I just give a couple examples here on screen. It changed how we watch movies. It changed how we pay, how we read our news. It changed how we take pictures. It changes how we travel and actually look for where we want to go, where we want to stay. It changes how we shop. It changes how we navigate our maps. It changes how we get rides from one location to another if we're not driving ourselves. It changes how we record videos, and we use it as a computer. It's now our bookshelf that we can read our books off of or listen to our audiobooks off of. And it's also a way for us to gather data, to store data, to transport data. All of this can happen in a phone, and so many more things. And so fundamentally, the iPhone and what all the different phones that followed it really fundamentally changed how we engage. And it moved us from this service economy to this experience economy, to ease and to convenience and all the feel good elements that we really see out there today. So why did everything change so fast? That's a fundamental question we want to ask. And what I'm referring to is from 2007 over the next 5 to 6 years. And then if we step forward, there's another 5 to 6 years of real growth and real change. And I want to walk through that, why that happened. I mentioned this book already and the Xperience economy. And what I'm referring to here is a book by Joseph Pine and James Gilmore. It came out in 1999, called The Xperience Economy. And in The Xperience Economy, they talk about the 5 different types of economies that we as humans are progressing through. And I'll walk you through that. And I'm going to use coffee as my example because it's one of the examples they use in the book, and it's a great one to use. So they talk about the commodity economy. The commodity economy is where, essentially we buy coffee beans, direct from the farmer, and we extract the commodity itself. We pull it out of the earth. We pull it out of the fields, and we're looking for specific characteristics. So we want beans that are of a specific variety and characteristic in that. Well, we value the beans in the coffee at about 5 cents per cup. If we were to go directly to the farmer, that's what we would pay. Now, if we look at the next level of economy, after that, we come into the product economy. And the product economy is where we come into packaging, and we productize things, and we brand things. We put them on store shelves. So if you take those same coffee beans that you could go out and pick in the field if you want to, right? And then you go to the coffee section of the grocery store, it's now about 15 cents a cup. And my numbers might be a little off, but proportionally, it's about right. Once we move beyond that, we go to coffee brewing, which is really providing a service. So this could be at the diner. It might be $1.50 for the benefits that you get at a diner. Someone coming up and pouring the coffee for you. Someone making the coffee so it's hot and ready for you. Or it could be at the convenience store, where you stop on your way to work in the morning and you pick up your mug of coffee, and they've got all the different creamers out there, and they got all the sugars and everything else you could possibly want. Those are all benefits that add value, and so they charge $1 or $1.50 per cup. Then there's the coffee ambiance, and this is where they stage the experience. And so you have all of these different sensations, what you smell, what you see, what you hear. All of this goes into it, so it makes it an enjoyable, a positive experience. Your positive emotions are being evoked, and it also creates memories, which is really important, because from those memories you make decisions to come back again. So this coffee, Starbucks, Panera, you can name any coffee shop out there, charge $5 or more per cup of coffee. So you see how we've gone from 5 cents to $5 because we've elevated from the commodity economy to the product economy to the service economy to the experience economy. So Pine and Gilmore in 1999, when they wrote their book, they're talking about the experience economy and how it is emerging. They point to companies like Disney and the Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, and others like that. And so at the very end of the book, they talk about one other type of economy that they say that the experience economy will eventually transform into, or morph into, evolve into, just by the nature of who we are as human beings and what we would want next. And they called that the transformation economy. And so I call this coffee aspiration, because in the transformation economy, what companies do is they guide customers through the transformation. So customers are looking for they want to develop certain traits and certain skills and certain abilities. And so when they do this, when they can develop those traits and become this person, they actually value what they buy at a much higher level. So they would be willing to pay more than $5 for a cup of coffee that helped them to achieve their aspirations and goals. Now you might be saying, Tony, there is no coffee aspiration out there. There's no cup of coffee that is transformational. And I beg to differ. This picture right here is from a company called Change Please. It's based in London. That's where they started from. They've now spread it around from there. But Change Please Coffee, they drive these little mobile coffee shops up to the sidewalk, and homeless people who have been trained as baristas come out and actually work, and they earn the money. So a lot of the money, a largest portion of the sales of the coffee, they still sell them for $5 like you would, or £5, same price as Starbucks would sell them for. But their coffee is just as good as Starbucks. They just don't have the locations because they use these mobile coffee shops. And in the process, the baristas end up getting paid. And it allows them to first get into shared housing. And then after that, it allows them to get into a flat of their own. And as they make more and more money, they can move up. At some point, because they've had job stability, because they're off the streets, they're now not homeless anymore, they can actually go out there and get another job so they can continue to grow their skill sets. So this company is transformational from a few different perspectives. First of all, you can see the transformation that happens for the employees, for the homeless people who become baristas and get off the streets, get a safe, stable place to live, and eventually get into the ability to either work here or work somewhere else because they've got a job history and they're now reliable. And so that's one aspect of transformation, but there's a whole nother aspect. Imagine for a moment you've got two people. One of them walks into Starbucks across the street and buys a $5 cup of coffee, walks out, and Starbucks logo is on there walking down the street. What they're telling everyone essentially is, hey, I can buy a $5 cup of coffee, and it's a bit of an ego trip. No, I'm not knocking it. I drink Starbucks all the time. It's not so much about demonizing people. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But they're buying the coffee for themselves, for what it does for them, the memories and the experiences, the positive emotions, right? That's what they're buying the Starbucks coffee for, or Panera, any of the other name brands out there, or the boutique coffee shops. Change Please is different. If you walk down the road, the sidewalk, and you've got a Change Please cup of coffee in your hand, and people are familiar with what that is, they're recognizing this person is a philanthropist. This person helps the homeless get off the street. This person does good work. By buying that coffee, you have just become someone who does social good. So it transforms you as you buy and drink that coffee, because what it says is, I value a good cup of coffee, absolutely. But if my choice is between a company that's selling it and making stockholders rich and doing all those good things of employing people, or buying basically the same cup of coffee and getting people off the streets, well, I'm going to do that one because I want to transform the world. I want to change the world, and I want to be the type of person who changes the world. So keep this in mind, because we're going to use this example as we move forward and understand. So you have the transformation economy is kind of the peak, if you will, of what was discussed in the Xperience Economy book. So let me break down the last three and kind of give you a little bit more perspective, because the last three are the ones we're primarily dealing with. If you're watching this, you're probably either in the service, the experience, or the transformation economies. That's where your business operates. So if you want to really say, okay, how does my business operate? Look at these kind of short descriptions and kind of think through what it means. Is this where you play, the space you play in? In a service economy, a customer pays for activities that are done for them. They buy time and they buy expertise. So are you selling time and are you selling expertise? Those are two of the primary things that a service provider is selling. Is that what your marketing talks about? Is that what you're really doing for people? If you're playing in the experience economy, something different happens there. The customer is paying for what they expect to feel. They're buying an emotion and they're buying a memory. So that's kind of the difference between going to the convenience store where, hey, you're brewing the coffee for me. You've got all the creamers set out there. You've got the mugs. I go in and pay $1.50 for that, versus I go to Starbucks and I feel better about myself, or I feel better about my day, or whatever else. And hey, the Starbucks people, the employees are friendly. I'm not knocking Starbucks. Don't take it that way. That's not my intent here. I'm really just trying to give an example. The baristas at Starbucks are trained. They're hired. They're happy, they smile, they use your name, all of that good stuff that you might not get at the convenience store when you go in there, and you pay for it when you go into Starbucks. The transformation economy is much different. In the transformation economy, the customer is paying for who they expect to become. They are buying a new identity and a new worldview. And this is critical to understand. There is a fundamental difference between the experience economy and the transformation economy. And I want to make it really clear how distinctly different they are. In the experience economy, I am buying something, specifically the emotion and the memory. In the transformation economy, I'm buying a new identity. I want to be a different person because I'm making this purchase, or through the making of this purchase and the fulfillment of this purchase, I become a different person. That's fundamentally what's happening. Now, let's look at self-identity here. There are 4 parts to self-identity. A lot of this I've extracted from marketing research that's been done over the last 30 or 40 years now. And I've come up with, I think there are really 4 aspects to a person's self-identity or customer self-identity. And each of us fall somewhere different on this chart. We use all 4 of these to evaluate what we're doing or how we're making decisions and how we're influenced. Some in different contexts, we may have a different operating model than other contexts. So let me just break it down. The real self concept, it's in quotes because it's what we think is real. It's who we think we are right now in this given moment, in this context, in this situation. Who am I? And when we're looking at making a decision, whether it's a purchase decision as a customer, or whether it's a decision as a human being to do something or not do something, we may ask ourselves, who am I? Does this, what I'm about to decide, align, or which decision here aligns with who I think I am? The second aspect is more aspirational. It's the ideal self concept. Who would I like to be? And I may make a decision less on my real self and more on who I'd like to be, because it's helping me be aspirational, helping me to lean into the future and stretch a little bit and become that person I want to become. The third element is the social self, and that's how I think others see me. Now, this is an important one because I may make purchases either to maintain how I think others see me, or I may make purchases to change how other people see me. The fourth and final part is the ideal social self. How would I like to be seen? How would I like other people to really perceive me? And that can drive my purchase decisions or my decisions as a human being to do or not do something. So there are 4 parts to my identity. So in the transformation economy, if you understand these 4 parts of the human self-identity or your customer self-identity, and you understand what question is it or which questions are they asking themselves at this moment and what does the answer need to be, that will give you an insight as far as how to create your products and services or your experiences, those transformations, in a way that they will engage with them and become loyal customers that admire what you offer. So let's talk about what are some of the signs that we are in a transformation economy right now. Well, to understand that, I want to walk you through this model. I'm going to go more in depth in this again in one of my next few days here when I give another talk on this. But Dr. Martin Seligman's a founder of positive psychology, and he and his research team came up with a model. And they talk about thriving, human thriving, and they said, what is it that really drives or creates thriving in human beings? And they came up with 5 distinct endeavors, things that humans pursue, their ultimate why. In other words, they pursue these things without any other reason other than just because they want these things. At the very top, you can see there's positive emotion. We want to be happy. We want to feel joy. We want positive emotion just for the sake of positive emotion. We want to experience luxury, or we want to experience convenience just because we want to experience that. It doesn't have to be any deeper than that. It doesn't make these people shallow. It's just, that's just what they're driven by, their ultimate why. Positive emotion is exactly the place that the experience economy has been for the last 20 years. It hasn't gone beyond that for the most part. But if you look at this, you can see, well, there's actually 4 other different types of endeavors that could be our ultimate whys as human beings and as customers. And those other 4 really play into the transformation economy. So engagement, and I'm just going to briefly go over them here to give you some ideas. of what they are. And we'll talk more about them in one of my next talks. Engagement or flow is the ability to lose track of time, lose track of self-awareness, to be so fully engaged with something that it becomes like the task that you're doing and you are the same, one and the same. There's a lot of talk about, or a lot of research around musicians and artists and extreme sports that all get into this state of flow or are deeply engaged with what they're doing at the moment. Well, the same can be true in your customers. They want deep engagement. How do you give that to them? And when they have deep engagement, it actually transforms who they are because they actually gain skills. They grow. They learn something new. The next one is relationships. Now, we just want to be connected with other people for the sake of connection in many cases. And, especially today during COVID, we can see that relationships is such an important thing that when we're isolated, when we're socially distanced, when we can't connect like we used to do, relationships and connectivity, human connectivity especially, is deeply important for us. And so how does your company help people develop deeper relationships? That's part of transformation. Then there's meaning. Meaning is like leaving a legacy for the world or changing the world, doing something good out there. Maybe it's changing your company or changing your family history or trajectory. All of that can be meaningful to people. So different people have different definitions of what is meaningful, but fundamentally it comes down to what matters to me. And when I'm doing the things that matter to me, when I'm working on those things, it causes me to thrive. I change, I transform, I become a different person in the process. And finally, there's achievement. And achievement can take two general paths that I've seen. One is external achievement, like winning the trophy, getting on stage, hitting the top of the top of the charts, if you will. The others can be an internal motivation, mastering something, mastering a new skill, doing something that's never been done before just because you want to do it. You want the satisfaction within to do that. And going through the pain of something so that you can reach that level of achievement, no matter if anyone else ever sees it or knows it or not. So when people go after achievement, obviously they grow, they change because they're trying to master new skills, develop new abilities, and achieve something. So they grow and transform there. So if you look at this, one element of thriving or one endeavor that leads to thriving is positive emotion. That's what the experience economy has been focused on. The other four, when we look at those, we realize that the transformation economy, transforming people through experiences, really come out of the other four. So with that in mind, let's look at how, from if you had 2007 when the iPhone came out and you go forward about 5 years, so 2007 to 2012 timeframe, a lot of the world was really focused on how do we leverage the iPhone and smartphones and how do we create amazing experiences with convenience and all of that. Well, there was a shift then when people began to realize what was possible and the power of the iPhone improved, the power of different technologies improved. There was a convergence that led to another stage of evolution of the experience economy. It was still the experience economy, but it's the transition period. And I would argue that transition period really exists between 2012-ish and up to 2020. And of course, it's growing as it gets closer to 2020. And I think I mark COVID actually as the point where we can say there's a tipping point here. And I'll explain why here in a moment. So, okay, for some reason my pictures haven't properly loaded here, but let's go back. Think about this model. Let me go back for 1 second. We're going to walk through engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement, and I'm going to show you products and technology that exist today, specifically looking at IoT or Internet of Things for consumers. Those products that we can tap into, let's say a smartphone, or they provide, there's an app or something like that that helps us. These are products that are sold right now, for the most part, as experience products, but they're the bridge into the transformation economy. And I'm gonna make that clear to you as we go through them. I'm gonna go through one at a time. So from engagement, the engagement experiences that actually transform us, and we could move from selling these as experiences to selling them as transformations. The first one there where the picture didn't load, I apologize for that. Biofeedback for meditation. So there's I believe this is the Muse 2 device, but it goes around your head and it reads your brain feedback as you're meditating, and it gives you It gives you feedback as you're meditating to help you get into that state of flow where you're more creative, where you're more relaxed, where you're unlocking your productivity. It's very powerful. Next, we see the clothing. I believe this is a combination of Google and Levi's, if I remember correctly. It's a coat that they made where you just touch certain parts, and rather than having to pull your phone out of your pocket or whatever else, you have the connectivity built in, so you just touch part of your jacket, part of your clothing, so it's the wired clothing, and it engages. It can, change the music that's playing on your iPod, or you might be biking or walking or driving or whatever else, and just tapping on a part of your sleeve there, it can answer the phone or can send a text message, all those types of things. So it keeps you engaged in the moment. It doesn't distract you from what you're trying to do by making you change your behaviors, pull out your phone and do that. The next one is immersive gaming technology. Virtual reality. Obviously, we're at the edge of it. And in fact, if you have the Oculus or any type of virtual reality, you might even be able to use it on our campus. Our campus is VR enabled right now. It just happened before we went live here, so we haven't even had a chance to go through and make sure everything's working the way it should. But I want to let you know that that's possible. So in a sense, this can be a VR experience for you as well. So not just gaming technology, that's in IoT space, but we can see it actually in our environment here. And then finally, I've got live streaming for extreme sports. And the live streaming for extreme sports, we put the GoPro on and we jump off and we do some base diving or something of that nature. So that's where people get engaged with that. They get deeply involved. People go out there and watch these videos and just like, oh man, I would love to do that. But they become part of it. They lose themselves in it. And it transforms who they are because they want to go try and do and be and grow. That transforms who they are. Then we can look at relationship experiences that transform us through consumer IoT. Very simple example, smart TVs. With all the connectivity, smart TVs, you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, everything else. And now all of these devices with the connectivity they have can, if you want to have movie night with your kids or movie night with your, significant other, or you just want to chill and relax by yourself and reconnect with yourself, right? That's part of relationship. Then you can watch a movie or you can connect with your smart TV. So it's kind of an interesting example, but I thought it was a good one. It's not being sold that way yet, but it could be. Now, again, people are selling these as experiences rather than as transformational products, but these are the bridge that we can quickly look to and see how these are really transformational as opposed to just experience based or trying to just evoke positive emotions and memories. The next one is actually the Facebook, I just went blank on the product name, but it's the Facebook tablet, and it has like autofocus, follow, video chat, all of those things. And what it enables is people who are in the midst of let's say, elderly and others who have challenges using technology. This makes it easy for them, so it basically follows them. The camera follows them around. It's easy to turn on and turn off. People can make video calls to you very easily. And so it helps build that relationship because, kids can talk to their parents, grandkids can talk to their grandkids. It enables that level of connectivity. And it's because it's a fully connected device, an IoT device. Then there's this heartbeat communicator. So this is a ring that you can wear one and your significant other can wear one. And no matter where you are in the world, it will transmit their heartbeat to you. So you get to feel their heartbeat in the moment. And if that doesn't build relationship, I don't know what does. That's totally, I think, transformational because it makes this oneness, this connectivity. It's a very visceral reminder of your significant other, this other person in your life who you're deeply connected to. It just raises the level of connection to and reminds you of them more frequently. And then finally, there's can't see it too well here, but securing neighborhoods. And that really comes down to all the door locks and the cameras and things like that. So we want to protect those we love. We want to protect our neighbors. We want to protect people. So we've got all these security devices out there. Now you could sell them as a security device. You could sell them as a new technology, but you could also sell them as a way to build relationship. You could connect your neighborhood and, you could have a safer, healthier, more vibrant neighborhood. Now let's look to meaning. Meaning, again, is about leaving a legacy or changing the world or impacting things. So this up on the left-hand side here, growing your own plants. There's actually planters now that you can get that they know what nutrients to supply. They know when to water. They know when to turn on the grow lights, all of that. And so you can actually grow your own food in your house. You can be healthy. You can save the environment. You can help preserve so things aren't transported from Chile or other places in South America, wherever else in the world. And you can actually grow them in your house. And so that could be a way for you to say, hey, I'm helping the environment. I'm preventing pollution and things like that. The middle one is actually I believe it's the Cancer Society in the UK. They put up where you could walk up to the door, you could hold your smartphone up there and scan, and it'll automatically donate to the foundation. And so if you think about it, it's an IoT connectivity. You connect to their Wi-Fi or whatever else as you're walking by, and you give them a donation automatically. Then you've got, Nest and these other electronic thermostats that are IoT products, and that can help you save energy. So it can be meaningful to you because, again, you're saving the environment, helping preserve the world for your children or grandchildren, trying to do something good. And then finally, we see the Waymo, and that's really it's a car that's self-driving car, but it also, if you think about it, you don't have to own a car, so you can save money for your retirement. You can use that car service and not have to worry about all the dangers, and you don't have to learn how to drive. You don't have to be a safe driver because you've got a self-driving car. Those are coming out. More and more, we're seeing them more and more now. And so that type of thing could be meaningful in a lot of different ways, either protecting you and your loved ones, they matter to you, or it could also be looking at it from perspective of like, I don't have to own a car, I don't have to create more pollution, I don't have to have a garage, I don't have to have all those things. I'm just going to call a ride when I need a ride, and it's going to be more efficient and more effective. The final endeavor is achievement, and achievement experiences that we talked about could be internal versus external. I give the examples here are primarily internal, but I could easily show some others. So the first one there is actually a screenshot of the different badges that I've earned in my Audible app for listening in different ways. And so badges for reading or for learning or for doing something, that can be achievement oriented. And when it's on a device, that I use like my Audible app, it definitely, in all my different, my computer's connected, my tablet's connected, my phone's connected. So that element really does give me the ability to achieve something and be transformed. Because as I read those books, as I get the education, as I try to do different things, I earn different levels and different awards. And so therefore, even it's an element of gamification, it does transform who I am. So these products, again, move from just being experience-based products to transformational products. We've also got these mattresses that are smart mattresses that if you look at them, it looks like technology and it looks like, wow, this is cool. I can learn how to sleep better. Well, that's actually a transformation, being able to sleep better, being more rested, more productive, more creative at work the next day. That's a transformation that comes about because you learn how to use the IoT bed, the connected bed, and the technology, the AI that's built into it. Another one that's really a very cool, interesting thing, and this is actually before COVID. I created this content here before COVID, and now I see these things advertised almost everywhere. Sports equipment and training equipment that you can have in your house, and it doesn't have to be a professional trainer. It could be like Peloton, where you've got a trainer at a location and you're all wired in together. That could definitely be part of it. This is a little bit different. This is actually essentially an avatar on screen, where as you box, as you move, it moves with you. And then when you want some coaching, it will correct you and show you how to move your body or how to change your position, what you did right, what you did wrong. So it's actually coaching you. It's literally transforming you in the process of doing your exercises. And then finally, there's a specific type of scale at the end there, a smart scale. It helps you to know how many calories you're getting, what you should be eating more of, what you should be eating less of. It can help you in your routine, so it can help you achieve your weight and health goals that you may have. So I hope you can see from all four of these that I went through, 16 different products are all IoT consumer products, but they are marketed for the most part as experience economy-based products. They're going to make you feel better and make memories, as opposed to being transformational products, which I think they could be more effectively marketed as they're going to change who you are. Now, why this is important is because COVID has really moved us to a place where transformation is key. And how did COVID accelerate the emergence of the transformation economy? Well, there's so many different things that we could look at. As an example, people can no longer go out. And so they've got to learn these skills. One of my daughters went from learning in the classroom literally over a weekend, having to learn from home for 6 months. You've got parents who worked in office buildings or elsewhere, and they have to work from home. So they're learning how to use Zoom. They're learning how to use remote technologies. They're learning how to wire, use their laptops at home where they maybe not have done that before for work related things. So we have all of these things. Now, the other thing is I've got a podcast called Really Know Your Customer Podcast, and we were talking with, on that show, we interviewed Tracy Hazard, who is also going to be speaking at this event here. And she is the CEO of Podetize, or Brandcasters. I'm sorry. She's CEO of Brandcasters, and they Podetize is one of their brands. They produce over 400 different podcasts. And as we were doing our interview with her, she revealed to us that what's happened during COVID is that the podcasts that were focused on education, so where people could go out there and say there's 25, 35, 100 episodes that might be 5, 10, 15 minutes long, whatever the length was, but where someone could listen to at double speed over a weekend and literally develop a new skill set. That's what people were doing. She said that they saw those podcasts skyrocket in the consumption because people needed to learn new skills fast. Now, the other type of podcast that she said also skyrocketed were entertainment based, ones that distracted people from the reality of what was happening at the time. So again, the entertainment is more like the experience economy, feeling good. The educational podcasts are transformational because they're changing, they're giving people new skills, new identity. They're changing how they view themselves in the world and how they view the world. So another example is here at the Spark. And at the Spark, we see that people have moved from remote to virtual environments. And we worked, and we tell this story elsewhere this week as well. But we have worked to create an environment where anyone can come in and do business here and network in ways that you cannot do on Zoom or any other platform right now. It's like being present here physically because you've got your avatar. And so if you haven't had the experience yet, if you haven't come into the campus, you're watching this maybe on YouTube or something like that because we're sharing it out there, coming into the campus and realizing what it's like to be connected with other human beings again, just like you would do in the office or at the coffee shop or at the networking meeting. You can do that here because you have an avatar that actually can walk around, can see things, and can do things. You can see my avatar has been on stage the whole time here talking. He hasn't worn out yet. He's doing well. Maybe I should have sat him in the seat there, but I wanted you to be able to see him as I'm engaging. Now, I could walk around and show you through my eyes of the avatar what's on campus here. So beyond that, what we have done, this is actually a picture of one of the partners, Will Carter. He actually spoke last night, and he talked about the value of virtual and the different things that you could do in an environment like this. He's going to have another talk going deeper into the topic. But virtual training experiences are transforming us, and people are coming to us and saying, how do we hold our conference here? How do we hold our training here? They need a place to do training. There are platforms that they've been using, a lot of, Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, etc. But you can't do everything on those platforms necessarily that you really want to do. Not everything you could do in person. We can do far more of that. So that's an example of, we're actually playing in the transformation economy. We're not a technology company. We are a human to human company. We are a transformational company. We're focused on transforming the human experience of meeting, of networking, of all of that in the virtual space. This is another example. We had a virtual masterminding session actually yesterday. This is a screen capture of that. So we're all gathered around the table, and we've got someone who's kind of facilitating the session, and we're asking questions, and we're throwing ideas out there. We're masterminding. So virtual masterminding experiences can also transform us because as we mastermind, as we think of ideas and we throw our ideas out there and someone else throws a great idea out, it switches how we think, it can reframe how we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we see our company, our brand. And so virtual masterminding is critical, and you can't do that very well in a lot of other virtual environments, but here you can. And you can gather together the people that you want to gather together. You can pull them together. You could, if you're on one of those other platforms, you've got, 20 people on screen. You can't just grab 5 of them and say, let's go over to this room over here. You actually have to leave that Zoom meeting or that WebEx or Teams meeting and go somewhere else. Here, You actually can be in the same space, just walk to the table next to it. You know, you can be present, not leave the group, but you can have a side conversation. You can let that masterminding really happen. Virtual networking. This is with Cristiano and Vinny, two of the other partners, and I'm standing there between them. We're having a conversation. We're walking into people on campus. You know, we are on campus quite often, quite frequently. You know, we've got it up in the background. At least we may be doing other work on our computer, maybe on a phone call, but we've got the campus up. Our avatars are there. We're present on campus. And you could walk into us and you could run into us and say, hey, Tony, how are you doing? And if I'm available, you know, I'll jump on and say, hey, how's it going? Sam, Bob, Sally, whoever you are. And I'll have that conversation with you, just like if we were sitting in the office and you walked into my office, you knocked on the door and came in. Or if we're sitting at, you know, if I'm sitting at a coffee shop, you walk in and you see me and you say, hey, Tony, how are you doing? That's what it's like here. That's very much what it's like here, because we all come through. We don't have a designated place to be, from a perspective like, use this code, sign in at this point in time, and we're going to have just the 5 people that were specifically invited to this meeting. No, there could be 1,000 people on this campus at any given point in time, more than that. It could be 12 people. It doesn't matter. When we're on campus, you can walk up to any one of us, assuming we're not locked behind a door because we're having a private meeting. You can walk up to us, you can chat with us, you can network with us. Well, those types of experiences transform who we are. The transformation we've seen already with people that come through the campus here, and they have these experiences of networking with us. It is profound because they begin to realize the reality of, I haven't done this for 9 months. I haven't networked with people for 9 months, and it's like something is filled up within them again, and they absolutely love it. Then we have the opportunity to do trade shows, and we can experience transformation through trade shows because we can go and we can learn. This is just a screenshot from way above looking down. This is one of my booth. That's my booth for Tony Bodoh International, one of my companies. All of those panels there, you can engage in e-commerce. I didn't have them lit up at the moment, but you can engage in e-commerce. I've got my best-selling books out there. You can click on it, go to Amazon, buy the book, all in privacy, all in a privacy zone. I've got an audio program that Dave Austin, a mental performance coach, and I created called Beast Triggers. That's up there right now. You can go listen to episodes of the podcast. That's in another one of those squares there. If you want to look at my website, learn more about what I do in my company, that's on the big screen on the right-hand side. You can see we have booths spread even. It actually expanded the booths now. We have far more booths in this because the expo hall is expandable. But the virtual trade shows, I mean, you walk through here, if the people were here, I could have a conversation with every different vendor in those booths and learn something about their business, learn about what they need, what they do, how they could help me. And that can transform us. That's why we went to trade shows in the first place, in real life, if you will. Well, this is as close as you can get to real life. Fundamentally, it comes down to this. Virtual experiences that are immersive are the ones that are going to transform us. When we get pulled in deep into an experience, that's what's going to transform us. That's what's going to take us from who we are to who we want to become. It's going to change our view of the world. It's going to change our view of who we are in the world. It's going to change our view of what we can do, what we can accomplish, what we're capable of. And all of those things, those immersive experiences where we're deeply engaged, we're building relationships, we're doing something that's meaningful and matters to us, and we're achieving something. In those cases, we will be transformed. And that's why this matters so much. The shared experiences that happen in the Spark on the campus here, they touch the depth of what it means to be human. And I mean that to my core. I'm not just saying that as marketing content. We as humans are connectors, we are communicators, and we are co-creators. That is who we are at our core. And if we recognize that, if we understand that, if we engage with that, this type of virtual experience will transform who we are in the moment. And finally, I just want to say that the moments that we invest, that you invest, that I invest into building relationships while you're in the Spark virtual campus here, they have the power and the potential to alter the trajectory of human history. I'm not blowing smoke there. I really do mean that. We can alter the trajectory of human history if we engage on a platform like this in immersive experiences if we do the things that we're engaged with, that deepen our relationships and our connections to other people, that are meaningful and matter to us, that change the world around us, and those that we achieve greatness, we master new skills, we become a better person in the process. If you have any questions, here's my email, my contact information. I've got additional resources available. If you're watching this again on YouTube or another source and you have not yet been in the Spark, I encourage you to check it out. You can go to www.thesparkvc, that's thesparkvc.com, the Spark Virtual Campus, vc.com. And if you want to come to this particular event, then you can go to www.thesparkvc.com/2020X. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate all of you. I thank you for your time and for engaging with us here. And if I can, there we go. I'll zoom out here. And it has been a pleasure to be with you. I look forward to the next time I get to speak with you.